Let me ask you something personal. How often do you feel like life is testing you? You know those moments when everything seems to pile on at once? Stress, frustration, uncertainty, and you find yourself on the verge of snapping. Trust me, I've been there. I've faced situations that felt overwhelming, where staying calm seemed impossible, and I know what it feels like to let the chaos get the better of you. It leaves you drained, defeated, and wondering if you'll ever find peace in the middle of it all. But here's the truth I've learned. Calm isn't something you wait for, it's something you create. It's a skill, like anything else, that can be practiced, honed, and turned into your greatest strength. I'm not saying it's easy, it's not, but it's worth it. And the best part? You don't need to have it all figured out or be some kind of Zen master to get started. You just need the willingness to take control of your inner world. I used to believe that staying calm meant shutting down my emotions or pretending I wasn't affected by anything, but that approach doesn't work. Suppressing your feelings is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. Eventually, it explodes back to the surface, usually at the worst possible time. What I've found is that true calm comes from understanding and working with your emotions, not against them. It's about learning to respond instead of react, no matter how intense the situation. Let me tell you why this matters so much. When you can stay calm, you reclaim your power. You stop letting external chaos dictate your mood, your decisions, or your sense of self. Think about that for a second. How often do we let other people's actions or life's unpredictable challenges control us? Too often, right? But what if you could flip that script? What if instead of being pushed around by circumstances, you became the anchor, the steady presence that can weather any storm? This isn't about perfection or never feeling stressed again. Stress happens. Life is unpredictable. What this is about is building an unshakable foundation inside yourself so that no matter what's happening around you, you can meet it with strength, clarity, and peace. It's about knowing you can handle anything because you've built the tools to stay grounded. I've seen this work not just for myself, but for so many others who've taken small, consistent steps toward mastering their mindset. It's not some magical transformation, it's real, practical, and rooted in timeless principles. You can start right where you are, with what you have, and I promise, you'll feel the difference. This is the beginning of something powerful. By the time we're done, you'll have what you need to face any situation with calm, no matter how chaotic things seem. You're stronger than you think, and together, we're going to unlock that strength. Let's get started. So, now that we've laid the foundation, let's talk about one of the hardest things you'll ever have to face. Those moments when your mind feels like it's working against you. You know the ones I mean. When negative thoughts creep in, uninvited and relentless, making you doubt yourself, your choices, or even your worth. It's like being caught in a storm you didn't see coming, and it feels impossible to find shelter. But here's the thing, negative thoughts aren't the problem. It's how we respond to them that makes all the difference. I want to share what I've learned about mastering those moments, turning them into opportunities for growth instead of obstacles that hold you back. This isn't about pushing those feelings away or pretending they don't exist. It's about embracing them, understanding them, and learning how to coexist without letting them control you. Let me tell you something I've learned from experience. Negative emotions don't just show up for no reason. They're there to tell you something, to point out something in your life that needs your attention. But most of us try to outrun them or drown them out with distractions. I used to do the same, scrolling on my phone, overloading my schedule, anything to avoid facing what was really going on inside. But running from your emotions only makes them stronger, more persistent. It's like trying to hold back a tide with your bare hands. You can't stop it, but you can learn to ride the waves. The first thing I had to accept was that emotions aren't my enemy. They're a part of being human. The more you resist them, the more they fight back. But when you acknowledge them, when you say, "Okay, I see you, I hear you," they start to lose their grip. It's not about giving them power, but about giving yourself permission to feel without judgment. That's where true emotional acceptance begins. I learned that trying to fix every negative thought is exhausting and unnecessary. Not every thought needs to be solved. Some just need to be observed. It's like sitting on a bench in a park and watching people walk by. You don't chase after every person, right? You let them pass. Thoughts work the same way. When I started treating my thoughts like passing visitors instead of permanent residents, something shifted. I stopped feeling like I was at war with my own mind. What helps me the most is creating a little bit of space between me and my emotions. When I feel something heavy, whether it's fear, anger, or sadness, I ask myself, what is this really about? Sometimes the answer is obvious. Maybe it's an argument I had or a worry about the future. Other times it takes a little digging, but here's what's powerful. By simply asking that question, I take the first step toward understanding instead of reacting. That moment of curiosity changes everything. One of the greatest tools I've found for this is breath work. When I feel overwhelmed by my emotions, I focus on my breath. Deep, slow breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. It's such a simple thing, but it's like hitting the pause button on all the noise in my head. In those moments, I remind myself that feelings are temporary. They rise and they fall, just like waves in the ocean. And no matter how strong they seem, they always pass. Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control. And one thing we always control is our response. When a negative thought pops up, I don't fight it anymore. I acknowledge it, I accept it, and then I choose how to respond. It's a subtle but powerful shift. Instead of thinking, "Why am I feeling this way?" I ask, "What can I do with this feeling?" It's like turning a spotlight inward, not to criticize, but to understand. I'll be honest, accepting emotions doesn't mean they stop being uncomfortable. There are still moments when I feel overwhelmed, when my mind feels like it's spinning in circles. But here's the difference now. I don't fear those moments anymore. I've learned that discomfort is just a signal that growth is happening. It's a reminder that I'm human, not a machine. One thing that's helped me immensely is journaling. At the end of a tough day, I'll sit down and write out everything that's swirling in my mind. There's something about seeing my thoughts on paper that makes them less intimidating. It's like taking them out of my head and giving them a place to rest. Sometimes just writing out a fear or frustration is enough to release its hold on me. Another tool I lean on is gratitude. I know it might sound counterintuitive. How can you focus on gratitude when negative thoughts are weighing you down? But let me tell you, gratitude is a game changer. When I feel like I'm drowning in negativity, I force myself to find one thing, no matter how small, to be thankful for. It could be as simple as the fact that I made it through the day. That tiny shift in perspective is like opening a window in a stuffy room. It lets in a breath of fresh air. Sometimes, accepting emotions means sitting with them longer than you'd like. There are days when I feel sad or frustrated, and no amount of deep breathing or journaling makes it go away instantly. But here's what I've realized. You don't need to rush the process. Emotions take time to process, and that's okay. The goal isn't to feel better right away. It's to give yourself the space to feel, period. One of the most liberating lessons I've learned is that it's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to feel lost, confused, or even scared. Those moments don't define you, they refine you. They teach you resilience, patience, and self-compassion. When you accept that negative emotions are a natural part of life, You stop fighting against yourself and start working with yourself. At the end of the day, emotional acceptance is about trust. Trusting that you're strong enough to handle what comes your way. Trusting that every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Trusting that no matter how heavy things feel right now, you have the power to lighten the load. And trust me when I say this, you're capable of more than you know. This is where growth begins, not in avoiding the hard stuff, but in leaning into it with courage and curiosity. And the more you practice this, the more calm you'll find within yourself, even in the midst of life's storms. Let's keep going, because there's so much more to uncover together. Now that we've explored the power of accepting emotions and understanding the signals they send, let's talk about something that has completely transformed the way I navigate life's challenges: reflection. It's not glamorous and it doesn't give you instant results, but it's the quiet cornerstone of resilience. For me, reflection is like cleaning a cluttered room in my mind. Without it, things pile up: stress, doubts, distractions, until it feels like I'm trying to move through life with weights strapped to my feet. There's something profoundly grounding about taking a moment to pause and truly look at yourself, not to criticize or dwell on mistakes, but to understand, to learn, and to grow. Reflection isn't about wallowing in the past or obsessing over what went wrong. It's about taking stock of where you are, acknowledging what's working and what isn't, and realigning yourself with your values and goals. I'll be honest, the hardest part of reflection is starting. When I first tried to reflect, I didn't even know what I was looking for. My thoughts would scatter, jumping between things I regretted and things I feared. But over time, I realized that reflection isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions. Questions like, what did I learn today? Or, how did I handle that situation? Give you a chance to peel back the layers and see the truth of who you are and who you're becoming. Reflection helps me spot patterns, both good and bad. Maybe I notice that I've been losing my temper more often, or maybe I realize I've been avoiding a tough decision. On the flip side, I might see that I handled a stressful situation with patience or finally took a step toward a goal I've been putting off. These moments of awareness are powerful because they give me a choice. When I see the patterns in my life, I can decide which ones to keep and which ones to change. Without reflection, those patterns would slip by unnoticed, silently shaping my future. One of the most valuable parts of reflection is separating what's within my control from what isn't. Life throws so much at us: problems, setbacks, conflicts, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. But when I take time to reflect, I can step back and sort through it all. I can ask myself, what can I actually change here? And let go of the rest. This simple practice has saved me so much energy. Instead of spinning my wheels on things I can't control, I focus on what I can influence, and that clarity alone brings a sense of calm. For me, reflection also serves as a way to reconnect with my values. Life moves fast, and it's easy to get caught up in the rush, chasing things that don't really matter or making choices out of fear instead of intention. When I reflect, I ask myself, did I live in line with my values today? If the answer is no, it's not about beating myself up. It's about understanding why and deciding how to do better tomorrow. These moments of realignment are like course corrections, small adjustments that keep me moving toward the life I want to live. Reflection doesn't require hours of solitude or complicated rituals. Sometimes, it's as simple as a few quiet minutes before bed, replaying the events of the day in my mind. I think about what went well, what didn't, and what I can learn from it. Other times I write it down. There's something about putting pen to paper that brings clarity. It's like the act of writing untangles the knots in my mind. When I read back over my reflections, I can see progress that I might not have noticed in the moment, and that reminder keeps me going. One thing I've learned is that reflection isn't just about the past, it's about the future too. When I take time to reflect, I set intentions for the next day. Maybe I decide to approach a tough conversation with more patience, or I commit to staying focused on what matters most instead of getting distracted. These small intentions add up, shaping my days and eventually my life. Without reflection, I'd be stuck reacting to whatever comes my way. With it, I can act with purpose and clarity. I've also found that reflection is a powerful way to build gratitude. It's not always easy to see the good in the moment, especially when life feels chaotic. But when I reflect, I notice the small victories I might have overlooked. Maybe it's a kind word from a friend, a task I finally completed, or even just the fact that I kept going when things got tough. These moments might seem small, but when you add them up, they're what make life rich and meaningful. Reflection helps me see that even on the hardest days, there's always something to be thankful for. What I love most about reflection is that it's a tool you can use no matter where you are in life. You don't need to be at your best to start reflecting. In fact, some of my most transformative reflections have come during my lowest moments. When I feel stuck, reflection helps me see the bigger picture. It reminds me that setbacks are temporary and that every challenge is an opportunity to learn. Reflection has shown me that growth isn't linear. It's messy and unpredictable, but it's always possible. When you make reflection a regular practice, it becomes a source of strength. It grounds you in the present while giving you the perspective to move forward with confidence. Over time, it changes the way you see yourself and the world around you. It's not about fixing everything at once. It's about taking one step at a time, learning as you go, and trusting that each step is bringing you closer to where you want to be. Reflection has taught me that clarity doesn't come from running away from the chaos. It comes from facing it with honesty and curiosity. It's about turning down the noise of the world and tuning into yourself. And the more you do it, the more resilient you become. You start to see challenges not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones. You realize that even in the middle of life's messiness, you have the power to create calm, clarity, and purpose. Let's keep building on this. There's so much more to uncover about finding peace and strength within yourself, and the next steps will only deepen what we've already started. Reflecting on our days, our choices, and the patterns in our lives can bring immense clarity, but there's another practice that transforms how we see the world and ourselves. It's one that shifted my perspective in ways I never thought possible. Gratitude. Not the surface-level kind where you say thank you out of habit, but the deep, intentional kind that rewires how you experience life. What I've realized is this: gratitude isn't just a reaction to something good happening. It's a choice, a lens you can put on that changes everything you see. There were times in my life when gratitude felt out of reach, when everything seemed to be going wrong. I felt stuck, overwhelmed and frustrated, like nothing was going my way. But the truth? I wasn't looking for the good. I was too focused on the bad. Gratitude didn't erase my challenges, but it did give me the strength to face them with a clearer mind and a fuller heart. Gratitude starts with awareness. It's about slowing down and paying attention to the little things we often take for granted. The warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of laughter, even the fact that you woke up today with another chance to try again. These aren't small things when you really think about them. They're life's quiet gifts, the ones we miss because we're too busy chasing what's next or dwelling on what's wrong. For me, gratitude became a practice when I started actively searching for these moments. At first, it felt forced, like I was trying to convince myself to be happy about things that didn't seem significant. But over time, something shifted. The more I looked for reasons to be grateful, the more I found. And here's the surprising part. Those moments of gratitude didn't just make me feel better, they made me stronger. They gave me perspective. Suddenly, the things that used to stress me out didn't feel so overwhelming because I could see them in the context of everything I had to be thankful for. One of the most powerful lessons I've learned is that gratitude doesn't require your life to be perfect. In fact, it's most transformative when things are hard. It's easy to be grateful when everything's going well, but the real growth happens when you can find gratitude in the struggle. When I've faced challenges, whether it was personal setbacks or times when life felt uncertain, gratitude reminded me that there was still good to hold on to. Even in the darkest moments, there's always a glimmer of light if you're willing to look for it. Gratitude also teaches you how to let go. When I focus on what I have instead of what I lack, I stop clinging to things that don't matter. I used to spend so much energy worrying about what I didn't have, comparing myself to others, or chasing things that I thought would make me happy. But gratitude has a way of simplifying life. It shows you that happiness isn't in what you're missing, it's in what you already have. And when you truly feel that, it changes how you move through the world. For me, the practice of gratitude isn't just about recognizing the big, obvious blessings. It's about noticing the small, quiet ones, the ones that are easy to overlook, like the way a friend checks in on you when you're having a tough day, or the satisfaction of finishing something you've been putting off. These moments might seem insignificant at first glance, but they're the threads that weave together a life worth living. Gratitude also strengthens relationships. When I started expressing gratitude more openly, telling people how much I appreciate them, thanking them for their kindness, I noticed a shift in how I connected with others. Gratitude creates a ripple effect. When you show it, you encourage others to do the same, and suddenly the world feels a little brighter, a little kinder. It's not just about saying thank you, it's about truly meaning it and letting people know how much they matter. Another thing I've learned is that gratitude can shift your focus from what's out of your control to what's within it. When I'm stuck in a situation I can't change, gratitude helps me find peace. Instead of fixating on what's wrong, I ask myself, what can I be thankful for right now? It might be something small, like the fact that I have the tools to navigate the challenge, or something bigger, like the support of the people around me. This shift doesn't make the problem disappear, but it makes it feel less heavy, less impossible to face. Practicing gratitude also rewires your brain. It's not just a feel-good practice, it's a tool for building resilience. Science shows that when you regularly focus on what you're thankful for, you train your brain to look for the positive, even in difficult situations. I've experienced this firsthand. The more I practice gratitude, the more natural it feels. Instead of defaulting to stress or frustration, I'm quicker to see the good, even when life feels messy. What's most surprising about gratitude is how much it teaches you about yourself. When you focus on what you're thankful for, you start to see what truly matters to you. It's not the material things or the fleeting successes, it's the moments, the connections, the growth. Gratitude strips away the noise and brings you back to what's real. For me, it's been a reminder that joy doesn't come from chasing more. It comes from appreciating enough. Gratitude also creates space for hope. When I focus on what's good, I feel more optimistic about what's to come. It's not blind positivity. It's grounded in the belief that there's always something to be grateful for, even when things don't go as planned. That hope has carried me through some of my toughest times, reminding me that better days are always ahead. The beauty of gratitude is that it's accessible to everyone, no matter where you are in life. You don't need anything special to start. You just need to pause and look around. Right now, there's something you can be grateful for. It might be small, but it's there. And when you find it, hold on to it. Let it remind you that even in the middle of chaos, there's still good to be found. Gratitude isn't just a practice, it's a way of living. It's a choice to focus on what's right instead of what's wrong, to see abundance instead of scarcity, and to appreciate the present instead of always chasing the future. And the more you practice it, the more it becomes a part of who you are. It's not about denying the challenges you face. It's about recognizing that even in the hardest times, there's still so much to be thankful for. Let's keep building on this together. There's more to uncover, more ways to shift our perspective and find strength in the everyday moments. Gratitude is just the beginning of what's possible. Gratitude shifts our focus to the good, reminding us of the richness already in our lives. But there's something else we need to address to truly find peace. Attachment. Letting go of attachment is one of the hardest yet most liberating lessons I've ever learned. For a long time I thought holding on tightly, whether to people, outcomes or expectations, meant I cared deeply. But what I didn't realize was that my attachments were creating chains, not connections. They kept me trapped, constantly chasing or fearing loss, and they drained my energy. The truth is, we can't control everything. It's one of life's most frustrating realities. I know how hard it is to accept that, because I've been there. I've clung to ideas of how things should be, fought against changes I couldn't stop, and tied my happiness to outcomes that were never guaranteed. And every time, it left me feeling powerless and defeated. It wasn't until I began to understand the principle of detachment that I found freedom. Detachment isn't about not caring. That's a misconception I struggled with for a long time. I used to think that if I let go of my attachments, I'd stop valuing the things and people I loved. But I've learned that detachment doesn't mean indifference. It means freedom. It means caring without clinging, loving without controlling, and striving without desperation. It's about releasing the need to control what's outside your power and focusing instead on what you can. One of the most freeing realizations for me was understanding that control is an illusion. There are so many factors at play in life that no amount of planning, worrying, or holding on can guarantee a specific outcome. For example, I've had situations where I did everything right, followed all the steps, worked hard, and gave it my all, and still didn't get the result I wanted. It used to frustrate me endlessly, but now I see those moments differently. They're reminders that my role is to give my best effort, not to dictate the outcome. What helps me the most is focusing on what lies within my control. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control, the idea that some things are up to us and others are not. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful. When I'm faced with a situation, I ask myself, what can I do here? If the answer is nothing, I remind myself to let it go. It doesn't mean I stop caring. It means I stop fighting a battle I can't win. And that in itself is a win. Letting go of attachment also means releasing expectations. Expectations can be tricky because they often come disguised as hope or ambition. But when we tie our happiness to specific outcomes, we set ourselves up for disappointment. I've learned that it's possible to have goals and dreams without letting them control me. When I focus on the process, on the effort and the journey, I find so much more joy than when I obsess over the result. It's not about lowering your standards or giving up. It's about finding fulfillment in the here and now, not in some future what if. Another area where attachment shows up is in relationships. I used to think that holding on tightly to the people I cared about was a sign of love. But over time, I realized that clinging creates pressure, not connection. True love, whether it's for a partner, a friend, or even a family member, thrives on freedom. When I stopped trying to control how others felt or acted and started focusing on being the best version of myself in those relationships, everything changed. Letting go doesn't mean you care less. It means you trust more. Trust in the connection, in yourself, and in the natural flow of life. Detachment also applies to material things. We live in a world that constantly tells us to accumulate more, to measure our worth by what we own. I've fallen into that trap too, tying my identity to possessions or achievements. But the more I chased those things, the emptier I felt. Detachment doesn't mean you can't enjoy the comforts of life. It means you don't let them define you. It's about finding joy in simplicity, in experiences, and in the things that truly matter. One of the most difficult attachments to let go of is the need for approval. I used to care so much about what others thought of me, whether they liked me, respected me, or agreed with my choices. It was exhausting, constantly trying to please everyone and live up to their expectations. But here's the thing, no matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. Letting go of the need for approval has been one of the most empowering changes I've made. Now I focus on living in alignment with my values, not someone else's. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Letting go of attachment requires trust. Trust in yourself, in the process, and in life itself. It's about realizing that you can handle whatever comes your way, even if it's not what you planned. This trust doesn't come overnight. It's something you build through practice. Every time you choose to release control, to accept what is, instead of clinging to what you think should be, you strengthen that trust. Detachment also brings a sense of lightness. When you stop carrying the weight of things you can't control, you free up energy to focus on what truly matters. It's like setting down a heavy bag you didn't realize you'd been carrying. The relief is immediate, and the possibilities open up. What I've learned is that letting go isn't a one-time decision. It's a practice. There are still moments when I find myself holding on too tightly, whether it's to an idea, a person, or an outcome. But now I catch myself sooner. I take a step back, take a deep breath, and remind myself of what I can and cannot control. And every time I do, I feel a little freer, a little stronger, and a lot more at peace. Detachment isn't about giving up. It's about giving yourself the gift of freedom. It's about learning to live fully in the present, without being weighed down by fear, expectation, or regret. And when you embrace that freedom, you find that life becomes lighter, richer, and so much more fulfilling. Let's keep exploring together because the journey doesn't end here. There's so much more to uncover. Letting go of attachment teaches us freedom. Freedom from expectations, from unnecessary burdens, from the illusion of control. But there's a step even deeper, one that anchors that freedom in something real, learning to live fully in the present. For years, I misunderstood what it meant to live in the moment. I thought it was about ignoring the past or avoiding thoughts about the future, but that's not it at all. It's about being where you are, fully engaged, and finding peace in the here and now, even when life feels uncertain. For me, living in the present started with small, almost unnoticeable moments. A walk outside where I paid attention to the sound of leaves under my feet. A conversation where I actually listened instead of thinking about what I'd say next. These moments weren't extraordinary, but they carried a quiet power. The more I tuned into them, the more I realized how much of my life I'd been missing. My mind was always racing, replaying old mistakes, worrying about things that hadn't even happened yet. Living in the present didn't make those thoughts disappear, but it gave me a way to stop them from taking over. The first step to living in the present is awareness. I started paying attention to where my mind wandered, especially during moments of stress. Often, I'd catch myself spiraling into what-if scenarios or ruminating on things I couldn't change. Instead of judging myself for it, I learned to gently bring my focus back to the moment. It's like training a muscle. It takes practice, and at first it feels awkward. But over time, I found it easier to stay grounded, to let go of thoughts that didn't serve me. Breathing became one of my most valuable tools for this. I can't tell you how many times I've been overwhelmed, caught up in my own head, only to realize I wasn't even breathing properly. Deep, intentional breaths bring me back to the present faster than anything else. When I focus on my breath, I'm not stuck in the past or lost in the future. I'm here, right now, where life is actually happening. That simple act of breathing reminds me that the present is enough. Another thing I've learned is that the present moment is often quieter than we expect. It doesn't demand our attention the way our worries or regrets do, but when you tune into it, it offers a kind of peace that nothing else can. Sometimes, it's as simple as noticing the light coming through a window or the way your body feels as you sit. These aren't earth-shattering moments, but they're real, and they have a way of grounding you in the truth of your existence. Living in the present also means letting go of multitasking. I used to pride myself on being able to juggle multiple things at once, thinking it made me more productive. But the truth is, it only made me more distracted. When I focus on one thing at a time, whether it's a task, a conversation, or even a meal, I find so much more satisfaction in it. I'm not rushing through life. I'm living it. The hardest part of present living for me has been dealing with the noise in my head. Even when I'm physically present, my mind can pull me away, throwing up thoughts of what I should have done differently or what I need to worry about tomorrow. Over time, I've learned to treat those thoughts like passing clouds. They come, they go, but they don't have to define my experience. Instead of fighting them, I acknowledge them and then gently return my focus to the moment. One of the greatest lessons I've learned is that the present isn't always comfortable. There are times when being fully present means sitting with discomfort, whether it's an awkward conversation, a difficult emotion, or a moment of uncertainty. But I've come to see that even those moments have value. They teach me resilience, patience, and the ability to face life as it is, not as I wish it to be. Avoiding those moments only prolongs the discomfort. Embracing them brings growth. Mindfulness also helps me appreciate the small, fleeting joys that make life beautiful. A smile from a stranger, the taste of a favorite food, the way music can lift my mood. These are all things I might have missed if I wasn't paying attention. Living in the present has taught me that happiness isn't some grand achievement waiting in the future. It's woven into the fabric of our everyday lives, if we're willing to notice it. There's also a deep sense of connection that comes with present living. When I'm truly present with someone, whether it's a loved one or even a stranger, I feel more connected to them and to myself. I listen more deeply, speak more intentionally, and feel more attuned to the energy of the interaction. It's a way of showing respect, not just to others, but to the moment itself. For me, living in the present has become a practice of trust. Trust that this moment, however imperfect, is enough. Trust that I don't need to fix everything right now or have all the answers. Trust that life unfolds as it should, one moment at a time. This trust doesn't come easily. It's something I work on every day. But the more I practice it, the more I find myself at peace with what is, instead of always chasing what could be. Present living has also taught me to slow down. Our world moves fast, and it's easy to get caught up in the rush, always hurrying to the next thing. But when I slow down, I notice things I never saw before. The way my coffee tastes, the sound of the wind, the way my body feels after a long day. These moments remind me that life isn't something to race through, it's something to savor. What I've come to realize is that living in the present isn't about ignoring the past or the future. It's about putting them in their place. The past holds lessons, and the future holds possibilities, but the present is where life actually happens. When I focus on the present, I'm not weighed down by regrets or anxieties. I'm free to experience life as it is, with all its beauty and imperfection. Living fully in the present moment has been one of the most transformative practices in my life. It's not always easy, and it's certainly not something I've mastered completely, but it's a practice worth pursuing. Each moment offers something unique, something precious, if we're willing to see it. And when we do, we find a peace that no amount of planning or worrying can provide. Let's keep going. There's still so much more to explore together. Staying calm in any situation isn't about being perfect or never feeling stressed. It's about building the tools to navigate life with clarity, strength, and resilience. We've covered so much ground together, from mastering emotional acceptance to practicing gratitude, letting go of attachments, and anchoring yourself in the present moment. These aren't just abstract ideas. They're practical steps you can take to create a life where peace becomes your foundation, no matter what life throws at you. I've shared what's worked for me, but now I want to hear from you. What resonated with you the most? What challenges do you face when it comes to staying calm? Leave a comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts and continue this conversation. Remember, we're all in this together, learning and growing one step at a time. And if you found value in this journey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're building a community here, one rooted in wisdom, personal growth, and the pursuit of a calmer, more intentional life. Hit that subscribe button and let's keep walking this path together. Thank you for being here with me. You've got this, and I'm here to support you every step of the way.